So before I go in, I want y'all to keep in mind two things. One is, well, actually, it's three things based on this one thing. So here's what I mean. One thing I want y'all to keep in mind is three words: beta, better, bitter. Okay. That's one aspect. The other aspect is, well, let's get right to the point. When a guy has been stonewalled so much, who wouldn't become stone cold, if you will, right? I mean, so one is talking about guys becoming bitter. Can you blame him for being bitter? you know? And I only say that because, you know, everybody responds to certain things differently. And like I said, if a guy has been stonewalled a certain way for such a time, always treated as a scapegoat, you know, just always had a finger pointed at him, people ignore him, someone stops talking to him. What makes you think he's not going to become stone cold if he doesn't know any better? Or maybe he just got out of character for just that moment. People get out of character sometimes. This ain't all a game or an act out here. Things happen. We're going to talk about toxic kings towards the end of this video. Hopefully, I don't forget to mention that. Okay, so as far as beta male, because like I said, right now there's a rise of the bitter male movement, right? Allegedly. But you take someone like Fabulous, who just rapped about something in one of his freestyles called You Did Me Wrong, and he simply said, uh, hey, forget love. I'm a bitter type of dude now, you know? So tell someone like him that something's wrong with him when he just simply said he was done wrong, right? No one's looking at that. People like, y'all complain about women and everything. Okay, that's one thing. But you're not really understanding the context of certain things that are being brought forth. Like men have to hold things inside, like men aren't victims too. Like the victimhood is always on femininity. It's often in pretty much, I won't say always, but it's often overlooked in regards to masculinity. That's unfortunate. Okay. That has to change. You know, they're like, we wonder why there's so many crazy guys. Well, guys have been brought to that point of craziness. Okay. Like I said, what makes you think a man won't end up stone cold after so long? Okay. But apparently, a man that's bitter is a beta male. But ironically, a lot of girls that call themselves wanting a beta male instead of a greater male, if you will, now they've made beta males types bitter, if you will, like guys that she has subjected or subjugated to her, more so subjugated, because if you want to look at the way they talk about the 80-20 rule, but these guys are bitter. He thought that you was his to keep, but obviously he should have known, but he probably didn't know better. But yeah, you should have told him you would always be for the streets, sweetie. you know. Um, so there's that with the beta male side. There's so much we can go into that. I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm trying to keep this video short, sweet, to the point. But she wanted beta because she didn't want greater, so therefore she didn't want better. Okay. So a lot of guys that are better men, which a lot of them could have even been veterans, not just from the military, but even in regards to dealing with a lot of the feminine, a lot of veterans, these better men, if you will, uh, they've seen a lot. But let's say if you weren't even a veteran, but you still are a better man just because of the way you are, the way you're made, literally, the way you see things, the way you're in tune. You're a prodigy. You didn't have to be a protege, but you just know things. The way you peep game, like you just know things instinctively, intuitively, right? You have strong intuition, right? A lot of girls don't like that. They talk about emotional intelligence. Well, your emotional intelligence overrides their emotional ignorance. That's for another conversation. But she don't, and that's why she doesn't like that kind of guy, the guy that's actually better. She doesn't like him. So she has to try to make him bitter. So that rolls into the other aspect of this conversation, because they want to throw a lot of this bitter man movement on men that are actually better, because you're trying to make better men bitter because of the beta men that you had before. You were on a lower vibration before, sweetie. So now you're trying to bring down higher vibration men later on in life, given that, what your supply of beta men have all been used up, going back to some people's vampiristic, parasitic tendencies. And sweetie, you still have those tendencies. Nowadays, I'm dealing with a lot of gals, not like literally dealing with them, but like more or less I run into a lot of gals nowadays, like when they talk, and even you hear this online, but I hear this offline too, right? Like in my own personal life, gals talk about like, no cap, real rap about they can sense a greater man, a better man in his energy, right? And she knows when she's taking his energy away. She's drawn to that greater man's energy. And she's a true vampire. She doesn't desire to be with that man. She just only wanted his energy. So that's why, guys, you got to think about when you wanted to have sex with her. Is she trying to be connected to you, or is she just trying to get a collection from you, if you will, literally? You giving her your offering, your collection. In this case, you're giving her an offering, a collection of your blood, your DNA, your plasma, literally. I mean, she's being a mosquito about it. She's being parasitic. A woman is either going to be symbiotic or parasitic to you, either or. There's no in between, okay? That's it. So, but that's the thing, it's funny how a lot of gals out here who aren't trying to be real women, they want to try to make real men feel bad for the guys they got around who weren't really uh, that type of man, let alone a real man. You were around a lesser frequency, but you're trying to distort a higher frequency. You're taking out, and I'm gonna say this: any gal that's ever messed up a relationship with a man that has been better for her, that's only due to her never knowing what a better man is like. Simple as that. And she might not even be made for better men, like she'll always just stay on a lower frequency. If she really was made for better men, she would have been with that better man. She would have been upgraded to that better man, but she's remained a downgrade, you know? And she tried to pull that man down a grade, like literally take him down the hill like a semi that ran out of brakes. And of course, my condolences to those who've been in those type of wrecks in real time, right? Semis running down the hill without brakes are no joke, okay? Yeah. But that's what she's literally trying to do with this guy. Like she's trying to just literally cause chaos and cause him to just crash with her, right? Hitting the wall for a lot of the feminine can happen in many different ways. It doesn't just happen due to her being with bad guys. Sometimes she hits the wall with good guys too. Oh yeah, you hear the train. So that might be my cue. But I'll say this, even like a train, she'll cause that good train to go bad. She'll make it to where the train no longer can stop either. Then it derails. So yeah, Gail doesn't like to hear the word derail, right? And that's a better man speaking out to her in ways that he's not going to end up bitter because of her, right? So apparently men speaking out are now bitter. No, he's just a better man that's not going to have you make him bitter. So that goes into my second point in regards to, the fact that a lot of gals, they stonewall better men in order to try to make them bitter. You ignore him, you stop talking to him, you just treat him bad, right? And yet this is a better man for you. But you were not a better woman for him. Obviously, you're not with him. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. One can make up excuses all day long. You're not with him. So you weren't the better woman for him because you're not even with him. you know? And so for, a lot of gals, they'll flip it and say, well, he wasn't the better man for me. Well, because you had your idea of what the better man for you is. So it goes back to that too, right? So, and that's why, a better man a man that knows he's better for a lot of women out here, he can't take a lot of it personal with a lot of these gals that end up flaking or ghosting him because they're still living in whatever their set reality is. They didn't want to be part of your reality. So here's what I don't understand, and here's where I wanted to throw my final nugget into this conversation before I round it up, right? So a lot of these gals now trying to say, even with all this content in rhetoric, so all this online content as well as offline rhetoric in regards to guys just coming off too bitter. But here's the thing. A lot of the gals out here like toxic kings, right? Apparently. How you think they got started? And how you think they continue to be toxic? Because they're bitter, okay? That's why I don't understand. You talk down on guys being bitter, but yet you like a toxic king. What do you think it takes for him to be a toxic king? He's bitter. But to me, it's just a form of shaming language to bring up this notion of a bitter man movement, a bitter male movement, if you will. Like it's just shaming language because it means that a man isn't allowed to feel hurt, to even say that he's hurt, to even address and express what hurts him. He's not allowed to do that. Real men, that are just expressing that they've been hurt too. They didn't resort to actually becoming bitter. Okay. They didn't resort to that. Okay. Some guys are trying to figure out this thing every single day and they still love women. Women, not females. Okay. And that's where he realized where he could have went wrong. Not to say he was wrong, but he went wrong. So just went in the wrong way. We do it. It happens. Okay. But he's now going in the right direction. He's going in the right direction and he's making sure that in regards to femininity, she has to be someone that's not trying to make him bitter. And I think to me personally, in regards to femininity, just this idea of what femininity is alone. Ladies, if y'all really talking about that divine femininity, well, guess what? It should be on the basis of making sure you don't make no man bitter. Thanks a million.